I need to share something with you that most physicians are simply not bringing up with their patients. And the longer this information stays hidden, the more damage it does. Right now, in your kitchen, on your counter, possibly on the shelf you reached for this morning, there are three foods. They look completely safe. They have been part of your routine for years or even decades. The people who care about your health have never once flagged them as a concern. And yet, these three ordinary foods may be quietly stealing something from you that no prescription on earth can easily give back once it is gone. Your freedom to move, your confidence to walk, your ability to stay on your own 2 feet. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal is going to change how you look at your kitchen. I am Dr. Lauren Hayes, and in the next several minutes, I am going to show you exactly which three everyday foods may be silently undermining the legs that carry you through your life. And then, because this is never just about what to remove, I am going to show you the three specific foods that can help you fight back and reclaim what has been quietly slipping away. Now, I know you have collected a great deal of health knowledge over the years. Much of it is genuinely good. But here is the part that almost never gets said out loud. After the age of 65, your body processes certain foods in a completely different way than it did when you were younger. Foods that were essentially harmless for 40 years can begin causing real internal damage after this point. Silently. Gradually, with no warning until the morning you notice your balance feels slightly off. Your legs feel heavier than they should. Your steps feel less confident than you remember them being. That matters more than most people realize, because falling is the leading cause of fatal injury in adults over 65. Not heart disease, not cancer, falls. And most of those falls begin their journey long before any single obvious incident announces them. So I need you to stay with me through everything I'm about to share, because one of the foods I am going to name, one that I promise you are probably eating right now, looks so genuinely healthy that virtually every senior consumes it regularly. And what it is quietly doing inside your body is something you need to know today. Let us begin with the good news, because there is real reason for hope here, and I want you to feel that before we get to the harder part of this conversation. The first food I want to tell you about is beets. I know, some of you are already skeptical, but I am asking you to stay open for just a moment, because beets are doing something inside the aging body that is genuinely difficult to replicate, and that most women over 65 desperately need right now, even if they do not know it yet. Here is a reality that almost never gets discussed in routine medical appointments. As the body ages, the blood vessels that run through your legs and feet become progressively stiffer and narrower. This is not something you feel happening. It is slow and quiet and invisible, but the consequence is significant and measurable. The blood that carries oxygen and vital nutrients to your muscles and nerves and brain has an increasingly difficult time completing that journey, and when your legs are not receiving adequate blood flow, the deterioration begins quietly and builds steadily. Muscles lose strength month by month. Balance becomes subtly less reliable. The feet develop that persistent cold or numb sensation that so many older women have simply accepted as part of getting older. But here is what I want you to understand. That experience is not inevitable. It is a physiological response to a circulation problem. And circulation problems are directly influenced by what you eat every day. Think about a garden hose that has aged. When it is new and supple water flows freely and reaches every part of the garden with consistent pressure. But as the hose stiffens and the interior narrows, the flow weakens. The areas furthest from the source dry out first. In your body, those distant areas are your feet and your lower legs, the furthest from your heart, the first to suffer when circulation is compromised. Beets change this dynamic through a naturally occurring compound called dietary nitrate. When you eat beets, your body converts those nitrates into something called nitric oxide. And nitric oxide sends a direct signal to your blood vessel walls, telling them to relax, to soften, to open wider. The result is improved blood flow throughout the body and specifically to the lower extremities where aging women feel it most. Research tracking older adults who consumed beet juice before walking found that these individuals moved measurably faster and with significantly less effort than those who did not. That is a real-world quantifiable benefit from a whole food, not from a pharmaceutical, from something that grows in the ground. Beyond nitrates, beets provide substantial folate, essential for protecting cognitive health as the brain ages. And those deep crimson pigments contain a group of antioxidants called betalains that actively protect blood vessel walls from the slow oxidative damage that builds invisibly over years. Roasted with olive oil and herbs, thinly sliced over a salad, blended into a smoothie with frozen berries and fresh ginger where the earthiness disappears entirely. A few servings each week creates a meaningful cumulative effect on how your legs feel and function. Hold on to the concept of blood flow as we continue, because it is going to come up again, and when it does, the context will be very different. The second protective food is sweet potatoes. And I want to explain something specific about them that most people have never been told. Something that connects directly to why older women fall. The instinct to group them with regular white potatoes is understandable, but the biological difference between the two is substantial, and the implications for aging women are significant enough that I consider this one of the most important food swaps anyone over 65 can make. Sweet potatoes are rich in beta-carotene, the compound that gives them their vivid orange color. Your body converts beta-carotene into vitamin A, and vitamin A plays a direct and measurable role in maintaining sharp vision. For older women, this matters more than it is usually given credit for. Declining vision and increased fall risk are directly connected in ways that are entirely preventable. The misjudged step, the rug edge that did not register, the uneven pavement that came out of nowhere. These are often the downstream consequences of gradual visual decline that nobody connected to what was on the plate. But the more consequential benefit of sweet potatoes for aging legs may actually be what they do to blood sugar. Here is the mechanism I want you to understand. When a high glycemic food causes a sharp spike in blood glucose followed by a rapid drop, that cycle repeated over months and years damages the tiny blood vessels and peripheral nerves in the lower legs and feet. These microscopic structures carry circulation to muscle tissue and transmit the constant sensory signals between your feet and your brain. Those signals are everything when it comes to balance. Your feet are continuously reporting to your brain. Flat surface ahead, slight angle here, edge coming. Your brain processes that information and makes continuous micro-corrections to keep you upright. When the nerve pathways that transmit those signals are damaged by repeated blood sugar fluctuation, that conversation grows quieter and less reliable. And no exercise program fully compensates for degraded signal quality because the problem exists at the level of the nerve itself. Sweet potatoes release their carbohydrates slowly and steadily. Their glycemic index is meaningfully lower than white potatoes. This gradual release actively protects the small vessels and peripheral nerves from the repetitive chemical stress of rapid glucose spikes. It preserves the sensory infrastructure that your balance depends on. They also deliver magnesium, potassium, and a range of B vitamins that directly support muscle function and address one of the most common complaints I hear from women over 65: nighttime leg cramping. Cramps that most people have accepted as normal aging, but that are frequently a straightforward consequence of mineral insufficiency, baked, mashed moderately, added to soups, or roasted alongside other vegetables. Leave the skin on for additional fiber, a genuinely versatile and deeply protective food. Now here is where I am going to tell you something that most people would never connect to the health of their legs on their own. But once you understand the mechanism I am about to share, the connection will be unmistakable. The third protective food is kale. Kale is among the most concentrated plant sources of vitamin K1 available in any grocery store. And vitamin K performs a function inside the aging body that is rarely discussed outside specialized medical literature, despite being profoundly relevant to every woman over 65. Vitamin K is a key regulator of calcium distribution. It helps determine where calcium in your body gets deposited. And that question, where does the calcium actually go, becomes increasingly critical as the body ages. Under ideal conditions, calcium belongs in your bones. But with insufficient vitamin K, calcium begins accumulating in places where it does not belong, most significantly inside arterial walls. When calcium deposits form in arteries, those arteries become rigid. They narrow. Their ability to expand and contract with blood flow diminishes, and the result, directly, is reduced circulation to the lower body. Weaker legs, colder feet, a progressive loss of the physical steadiness that independence requires. Vitamin K from kale actively facilitates the removal of calcium from arterial walls and redirects it toward bone tissue. This is not a minor nutritional detail. This is a central mechanism of vascular protection that most older women are never told about, and that affects them every day. Kale also provides lutein, most often discussed as an eye protective nutrient, and it absolutely is. But lutein has shown in multiple research settings the ability to cross the blood-brain barrier and support the cognitive processing speed that governs rapid physical response. Most falls among older women are not the result of legs simply giving out. They are the result of a balance disturbance that the brain did not correct quickly enough. The legs wobbled, and the neurological correction came a fraction of a second too late. That timing, that razor-thin window, is where cognitive processing speed determines whether a stumble becomes a fall. And lutein from dark leafy greens helps keep that window tighter over time. Massage raw kale with a small amount of olive oil for 2 or 3 minutes, and it becomes considerably more tender and digestible. Saute it lightly with garlic, stir it into soups, blend it into a smoothie. 2 or 3 servings each week provides real contribution to the mechanisms that protect you most. Now here is where this conversation shifts, and I need you to pay very close attention to what comes next. Because everything I have shared so far has been about protection, about building up your defenses, about what is working for you. But there is another side to this story, a side that nobody is warning older women about. And this is where I need you to think about what is currently in your kitchen, what you reach for without thinking, because one of the 3 foods I am about to name is almost certainly part of your regular routine right now, and it has been quietly working against you. Are you ready? The first food that deserves serious reconsideration is corn. I understand that corn feels deeply familiar. It appears at family dinners, at celebrations, in comfort foods that carry decades of association. And I am not telling you that corn is toxic. That would overstate the concern and obscure what is actually happening. What is actually happening is this. Corn is exceptionally high in omega-6 fatty acids. And the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids in your daily diet has a direct and measurable influence on your body's baseline inflammatory state. Omega-3 fatty acids suppress inflammation. Omega-6 fatty acids, when consumed in disproportionate amounts, amplify it. And the typical older woman eating a traditional diet is consuming a ratio that heavily favors omega-6. The biological consequence of that imbalance over time is chronic low-grade systemic inflammation. This kind of inflammation is invisible. It does not produce obvious pain. It operates below the threshold of conscious awareness, but inside the blood vessels of your lower legs, inside the joints of your knees and ankles, inside the small peripheral nerves of your feet, it is producing damage. Slowly, consistently, month after month. The cumulative result is exactly the progressive deterioration of walking stability, balance reliability, and sensory feedback from the feet that women typically attribute entirely to aging itself. Corn also registers relatively high on the glycemic index. The blood sugar consequences we discussed in the context of sweet potatoes apply directly here. Repeated spikes, repeated vascular and neural microdamage. Gradual degradation of the very sensory infrastructure that balance depends on. This fire does not announce itself. There is no dramatic moment of realization. Just a slow shift over months and seasons where walking feels incrementally harder and standing feels incrementally less certain than it did the year before. If what I am sharing is resonating with you, leave the word stronger in the comments. I want to know who is still with me. The second food on this list is one that I believe will genuinely surprise you. Canned tomatoes. Before you move on, I want to be absolutely clear. Fresh tomatoes are genuinely beneficial for health. Lycopene, vitamin C, antioxidant properties. The science behind fresh tomatoes is solid. This distinction matters. The concern is not tomatoes. It is the canned form specifically, and it operates through 2 separate mechanisms that combine to create a quiet but real problem for aging women. The first is BPA, bisphenol A. Tomatoes are highly acidic. That acidity causes the inner lining of metal cans to release BPA into the food during storage. BPA has been consistently linked in research to hormonal disruption and increased systemic inflammation, 2 things that an aging woman's body is already working hard to manage. The second mechanism is sodium. Most commercial canned tomatoes contain substantial added sodium, and excess sodium creates a specific physiological chain for adults over 65. Blood pressure rises. The kidneys respond by retaining fluid. That fluid settles in the ankles and lower legs. And the pressure that fluid retention creates on the small blood vessels and nerves of the lower extremities directly reduces their ability to receive oxygen and essential nutrients. Less oxygen to leg muscles, less nutrient delivery to peripheral nerves. Weaker legs, less reliable balance. A quietly elevated fall risk that builds with every can. The solution is genuinely simple. Fresh tomatoes whenever preparation allows. When canned is necessary, choose brands explicitly labeled BPA-free with no added sodium. This single consistent swap removes 2 distinct sources of circulatory stress simultaneously. And to the woman who cooks thoughtfully at home, who makes real effort every day to eat well and care for herself, this adjustment does not diminish what you are doing. It refines it. It ensures that the care you are already investing delivers everything it possibly can. And now we have arrived at the third food, the one I most want you to share with every older woman in your life. Because of the three foods on this list, it is the most consistently misunderstood, and its impact is the most invisible, which makes it the most dangerous in a quiet, sustained way. The third food is iceberg lettuce. I want to be precise here because this one works differently from the previous two. Iceberg lettuce is not introducing something damaging into your body. What it is doing is occupying space on your plate, in your diet, in your daily eating, that could otherwise be filled by food that delivers genuine biological protection to the exact systems that are most vulnerable after 65. Iceberg lettuce is approximately 96% water. Its nutritional profile is essentially negligible. Almost no vitamin K, almost no folate, almost no lutein, almost no magnesium or potassium. Now think about what that means for the woman who builds a large salad every single day as part of her commitment to eating well. She is making a real and consistent effort. She deserves full credit for that intention. But if the foundation of that daily salad is iceberg lettuce, she is filling a significant portion of her daily eating with something that returns almost nothing to the body, depending on her. And every serving of iceberg lettuce is a serving that did not contain kale with its vitamin K and lutein and folate, did not contain spinach with its magnesium and iron and protective antioxidants, did not contain arugula or romaine with the full range of micronutrients that aging legs, aging arteries, and aging nerves require to maintain their function. Researchers call this nutrient displacement. You can only eat a finite amount of food in a day. When a portion of that finite capacity is consistently occupied by nutritionally empty food, the nutrients that were displaced accumulate into real deficiencies over time. Deficiencies in vitamin K lead progressively to arterial calcification and bone fragility. Deficiencies in folate lead to elevated vascular inflammation. Deficiencies in magnesium manifest as muscle cramping, disrupted sleep, and declining strength in the legs. She is filling a bowl every day and calling it healthy, and her body, quietly, is running low on exactly what it needs most to keep her steady and strong and independent. The correction is the simplest of everything we have discussed. Replace the iceberg lettuce with dark leafy greens, kale, spinach, arugula, romaine, not a dietary overhaul, a single, consistent substitution. And its impact on the nutritional environment your body operates from every day is genuinely significant over time. I want to step away from the clinical perspective for a moment and speak to you as one woman to another. Getting older is not simple. The body changes in ways that require both adjustment and acceptance. There are mornings that feel different from how mornings used to feel. There are limitations that require honest acknowledgement. I am not going to minimize any of that. But here is what I know from years of working with women who made consistent, thoughtful changes to the way they eat. The transformation is not instant. It is not dramatic from one week to the next. But over months, it accumulates into something that is real and felt and visible. More steadiness in their stride, more confidence on uneven ground, more clarity in their thinking, more physical capacity than they had experienced in years, not from expensive interventions, but from the quiet daily decision to give the body what it actually needs. You have built something over the course of your life. You have earned the right to live the years ahead with as much independence and confidence and physical steadiness as your body can provide. And your body, at any age, responds to what you give it. That is not a promise. That is biology. Every meal is a quiet decision. Every trip to the grocery store is an opportunity. Beets over foods that calcify your arteries. Sweet potatoes over foods that damage your nerve signals. Dark leafy greens over foods that take up space without giving anything back. And the knowledge, which you now have, to recognize which common foods are quietly working against everything you are trying to protect. That knowledge belongs to you now. Use it. I am Dr. Lauren Hayes. If this video delivered something valuable to you, please share it with a woman in your life who is over 60 and who deserves to have this information. Subscribe to the channel for more honest, evidence-informed content designed for the health needs of women at this stage of life. I will see you in the next video. Take care of yourself. You have absolutely earned it.